Welcome to Short and to the Point, a podcast from the Comeback in Awful Announcing. Here's your host, Jessica Kleinschmidt.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Short and to the Point. Jessica Kleinschmidt here for the Comeback in Awful Announcing. Excited for this episode. I get more and more excited each episode. I feel like that means growth. Emotionally, not physically. I'm still 5-0, but that's neither here nor there. We have a fun guest today, WWE's own Corey Graves, who transitioned from an analyst to doing some play-by-play duties for SmackDown on Fox. And it was such a fun conversation with him because we hit everything from switching from wrestling to being in the broadcast booth, how witty he is, and just how he goes about his job, and learning from Michael Cole and Triple H, some of the biggest names in the industry. And I'm always curious because I do work with a lot of athletes who go down the broadcasting route, and just to see what his transition is like and how he's grown through the ranks, and how being injured and having to retire from wrestling was in a way a blessing in disguise. So here's my chat with Corey Graves. Well, as promised, Corey's here. Corey, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited that you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Now, let's get right to it. There's a lot to unpack. We're going to talk about your new role with SmackDown, and it's an interesting transition to go from an analyst to play-by-play. What are you most looking forward to in this new endeavor?
I think overall, the most exciting aspect is it's something new. I'm comfortable with it to an extent, having worked alongside Michael Cole for all these years, and Cole really had me from day one as far as what he would like me to become as a broadcaster. Even back as an analyst, I learned everything, sort of the Michael Cole style, the outlines, the X's and O's. But for me, I mean, I've been in WWE now, I think just over 12 years, starting as a wrestler and evolving into what I am now, which is insane to say out loud that I am the voice of Friday Night SmackDown. I'm a professional broadcaster now, which is never something in a million years I thought would be on my bingo card. But now that I'm here, it's just exciting to have something brand new to dive into and improve on and watch back and analyze. I got so comfortable as an analyst that I did very little to zero prep before the shows. I mean, every once in a while, if it was a big premium live event or for the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, etc., I would do a little homework, maybe drum up some backstories that people hadn't been so familiar with. But now I actually have a lot of work to do. My work day begins when I get to the building on Fridays, and that's weirdly enough exciting for me.
And that's what's interesting, because I heard you talk about that. It's very little prep for you. You kind of wit on your wit. So what's the prep compared to now?
Well, now there's a lot more traffic, and that's something that I don't think anybody, particularly as a WWE fan, really understands, nor should they, the broadcast aspect of it. And again, I didn't go to college for journalism or broadcasting. This all sort of fell in my lap and has been a years-long evolution. But the traffic and knowing how to get from point A to point B in the show without the viewers going, that didn't feel right. That didn't sound right to me. And it's gotten to the point where I'll watch the local news or any sort of broadcast. I'm watching the New Year's Eve broadcasts on these networks, and I've developed an ear and an eye to go, ooh, somebody missed a cue there. Something didn't go according to plan, which happens, particularly in a live environment, which we are 52 weeks a year. So it's just focusing on how to transition from point A to point B. And when it's live, point A may skip point B and you need to get to point C. Case in point, this past week, our opening segment went 15 minutes too long. So all of the prep that I had, the transition, okay, I'm going to talk about this and then I'm going to throw to that. Everything gets shuffled at the last minute while you're live on the air. We're doing all this work in the middle of a commercial break. And talk about trial by fire. I've only been in that chair for 4 weeks and I'm like, wow, this is intense. This is insane, but it's exciting all the same.
And you wrote that on X, that it was the most nervous you'd ever been. So how do you kind of take those nerves and restrain them a little bit, or do you?
I think I just need to rely on the fact and learn to trust myself a little bit better, in a sense that I've been a wrestling fan as long as I can remember. I mean, I have photos of myself and my dad when I'm 2-3 years old with Hulk Hogan action figures. I mean, this is quite literally what I grew up loving. So as far as from a knowledge standpoint, I'm comfortable and confident. And I have to just remember to be a fan, because at the end of the day, I am narrating the superstars' tales in a way that hopefully is digestible for the fans. And I just kind of need to rely on what I liked or what I grew up on or what I heard. And of course I'm going to tweak it and I'm going to evolve and I'm going to try to do things. The hardest thing about making this transition so far is keeping my wit in check, because as a human being, if there's a joke to be made, I'm there. It's just kind of it's a curse and a blessing. But I've been able to still maintain a little bit of that flavor. I was told right up front when I was offered this opportunity, we don't want you to be Michael Cole 2.0. We already have Michael Cole. And I'm still finding my voice, and Wade Barrett is a new partner for me. He's a guy I've developed chemistry with and been friendly with over the years. But as far as from a broadcast perspective, it's all brand new. So I'm learning on the job, on the fly as he is. But I think the beautiful part is we can sort of gel and tweak one another together and evolve as a team and sort of be a little bit more complete while also being something fresh, something new that's never really been done before.
And was that a sense of relief when they approached you saying, like, kind of just be yourself?
It was, but it's one of those things where, nothing makes something less fun than somebody telling you that you should be having fun.
Yeah.
Right? If you're at a party and you're standing in the corner, someone goes, "Oh, hey, lighten up. It's easy. You should be having a good time." And you go, "No, that's not what I want." And I hold myself to a probably ridiculously high standard. I think that's sort of the mentality that permeates most of WWE.
Yeah.
You want to be the best. And I had people complimenting me, and I'm getting text messages and all these great compliments after my first night on the job. Meanwhile, I'm going, I screwed that up. I could have done that better. I should have done this. Oh my God, that was right there and I missed it. There's going to be growing pains, and I'm aware of that. And that's when I made that post on X. I figured, hey, I'm gonna show the world my heart one time right now, guys. I'm as nervous for this as I'm gonna be about anything. Maybe, hopefully, you'd be gracious and have a little bit of patience, but also I realize that's not an opportunity that's afforded on this scale. I mean, this is the biggest sports entertainment company in the world. You don't have forever to figure it out. But they've been patient with me, and I feel like week after week, even if there's slight improvements, that's better than nothing.
And has that always been your attitude? Because I kind of watched how you started this process of being behind the mic, and you were putting so many hours in and all of that. At the beginning, when you were hitting those bumps, were you patient with knowing that you still had growth?
I think I was patient when I could look at it from 10,000 feet, when I could step back and say, oh, hey, you've only been doing this a few months, or, oh, this was only your third or fourth show, or whatever that may be. And I gave myself a bit of grace with this transition, knowing in advance, hey, you're probably going to screw something up. This is not what you've done. I've been beside the play-by-play guy for all these years, but never actually had the real responsibility of doing it. So I tried to give myself as much grace as possible. But like I said, after that first night, I was texting with Michael Cole or whoever was texting me, and everyone's going, great job, way to start it off. And all I could think about was the 2 or 3 little details that I was not happy with.
So you're being a human being. You're being a human being.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in my brain, I'm obsessing over it. Meanwhile, most of the fans, knock on wood, probably didn't notice. I'm sure there's always a few that wait and analyze every syllable that comes out of my mouth. But all in all, I think I'm happy with the start.
And you were talking about figuring out your style at the end of the road. What would you ultimately like to define your style as far as broadcasting goes?
I honestly think it's a little too early to figure that out. Because again, this isn't something that I ever aspired to as a kid, or even once I joined WWE. This was all sort of plan B. And I'm very proud of what I've been able to accomplish as a backup plan.
Yeah.
Never in a million years did I expect to be told, hey, you're in WWE, but you're not going to be allowed to wrestle anymore. Figure something else out. And, it's been a long process, but I'm very happy that I seem to have landed on my feet. And I would hope that I will have this opportunity long enough to really define myself and develop. I would be willing to bet what I sound like right now, or what I'll sound like this Friday, is going to be very different than hopefully 6 months from now, a year from now. And nobody's ever become great trying to become a carbon copy of anybody else. Again, I know the technical aspects that I've learned, not only from Cole, but the litany of partners I've had over the years. Because again, I was a wrestler. I came into this with wrestler brain, not broadcast brain, wrestler brain. So that was what I brought to the table and what I offered. But I guess sort of by osmosis, I absorbed a lot of skills from these professional broadcasters. And I mean, I've worked with guys who are currently on ESPN or all over the sports, legitimate professional sports broadcasters who are the best in the world at this. I just think the one edge I have is all I really know in the world is WWE. And that's sort of helped me borrow from other guys along the way and sort of start to develop this style.
And it's interesting because you said it wasn't necessarily something you aspired to do. And I think you said before it wasn't necessarily a passion. And I'm just quoting you on that. But there's passion behind your voice when you're doing it. So how you don't create that, it's already automatically in there, right?
I think the issue and the art and the magic of it is being able to tap into the passion. And I would say I'm sure I've probably said that over the years that was never a goal. It was never a passion to be a great broadcaster. But at the end of the day, I'm in WWE. I am in the pro wrestling sports entertainment world at the top of the mountain, which is something that I dreamed of for years and years and years. So I guess now in a roundabout way, I can still apply all of the passion that took me to WWE as a wrestler and all the sacrifice and what I loved about this game that got me here. And now I'm just going to convey it in a different manner than I would had I been in the ring throwing punches and kicks.
And I know there's a lot of things that you don't want to like kind of make public as far as like locker room talk goes. But when it comes to learning from Michael Cole, what's a major lesson that you learned from him? Maybe not even with words that he says, but just watching him work.
I think it's the overall goal that it's not Cole wasn't the first to do it, but Cole, I think, has done it better than anyone and really defined what it is in that we are not sports commentators.
Yeah.
While my job title may say WWE commentator, we are not X's and O's stats guys. We can't look at a stat sheet and go this, that, and the other thing, because that's not what sports entertainment is. While we do have some of the best athletes on the planet Earth, we lean more into the entertainment space. And Michael Cole accepted and acknowledged and created this style of his own. He's a narrator. We are narrators. For a story. We are there to convey the outline of the story and all the story beats that the fans need to know, hopefully to let them make their own decision on how they feel about this character or this story or where the story is going. And Cole has been very, very important in helping me realize that I'm not there going, okay, there's a punch and there's a kick and there's a drop kick. We're a television product. People can see what's happening. I can give you backstory. I can explain why that hurts or where this superstar learned that. But it's not on me to go, well, this guy lost his last 4 matches. Because at the end of the day, he may headline WrestleMania because we're selling drama and emotion, not X's and O's and statistics and measurable stats. There are plenty of other sports where stats are the be-all, end-all. WWE, totally different animal.
And so when you do take in a regular game, whether it's basketball, baseball, what have you, do you think that there's more responsibility on your hand? And obviously you can't compare. I don't know how many times you've been in a booth as far as other stuff goes, but do you think there's more responsibility when you have an entertainment factor as opposed to leaning on analytics?
100%. And that's no disrespect to anybody who gets to rely on the analytics. I'm in a weird way sort of jealous that you could show up and say, okay, this is this guy's batting average for the season. Here's where we're going. Again, it's just a totally different animal. And weirdly enough, having been in the analyst chair for as long as I have and doing the job that I do for WWE, it's amazing to me how I feel like I would love to inject a little bit more romance and drama into these other sports. There was a gentleman, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, that was in the Pirates minor league system this past year. And he came up and had his first at bat and he got his one hit in the big time. And like that romance to me was so cool. That's why I love baseball. I love watching a guy, bat for 400. That's great. That's cool. But to me, it's the human element of it. And watching sport, I think a lot of different sports could probably stand to borrow a little bit from what WWE does, because I think you're going to broaden your audience when you can tell a story, a human interest story about why this guy matters, even for one day. And the backstory of, you hear the stories all the time watching any major sporting event about so-and-so's father passed away and they dedicated this game. That's the stuff that resonates with people. Not your batting average. I mean, sure, it may go down in the record books, but people remember how you make them feel, not necessarily what your numbers on your sheet said. And I mean, I'm sure you've been in the stadium enough times. You could have the worst record in baseball, as the Pirates often do, and it doesn't matter if it's in the first week of June and somebody hits a walk-off. You are telling your kids about that. I was there and I watched this moment because it's human and it's so much bigger than sports. And we rely more heavily on that side in WWE than other sports. But I honestly think if you could meet somewhere in the middle, I think it'd be great for everybody across the board.
I completely agree. Yeah, watching Shelty grab him was like one of the coolest moments like I've ever seen in my life. That was amazing. And I want to talk about praise for Michael Cole, because I think I heard you once say if he gives you kind of this laugh underneath his breath, you know that you did something right. So what's it like receiving that kind of a praise from him?
Oh, Cole and I have our relationship has developed so long over all these years. It was actually him who suggested that I give commentary a shot. Way back when. I think the night after I had my final match, I didn't realize it was going to be final at the time, but he was the one that sort of put the bug in my ear. And had he not given me that opportunity, God knows where I'd actually be. But I got to learn from him as a boss first, and as I watched him and took notes mentally, and again absorbed all this great stuff via osmosis from the greatest to ever do it, in my opinion. But now we've gotten to the point where we're friends. He's one of my closest friends, and in a weird way, he's almost like an older brother to me.
Yeah.
And when I have doubts or issues, he's my sounding board. The amount of times that I've texted him at 2:00 in the morning, telling him, "That's it, I'm done, I give up, I quit, screw this." And then he wakes up, and I'll wake up to the text in the morning, and he'll go, "I'll see you on Friday." He knows me now. He's talked me off plenty of ledges, but I'm eternally grateful for him. And what still makes me laugh is for as professional as he is, which I challenge you to find anybody in any walk of life to maintain the professionalism of Michael Cole. I mean, that guy is a pro's pro in every sense. So I just take it as a bit of a small victory when we're in the middle of a broadcast and we get these tiny little windows. And if I can hit him with a joke, you'll never hear him laugh on the air. He loves the cough button. He'll lay on the cough button and put his forehead down on the desk so that even the people in this arena or the stadium can't see him laughing. But that's like sort of my validation going, that joke landed. That was a good joke. You made Cole crack. And now that we have Pat McAfee every once in a while at the booth with the three of us, poor Cole's really being tested. Because you've got two clowns on either side of you. And the fact that he manages
that poor cough button.
No, honest to God, he abuses that cough button. But I wouldn't change a thing, man. I'm eternally grateful for everything Cole's done for me in my career and my life.
And if he put that bug in your ear, what characteristic do you think you possessed that he would approach you and say, this guy really has a shot in broadcasting?
I talk too much.
Okay.
I talk too much. And I've been told that I have a relatively strong grasp on wrestling psychology, which is definitely something I picked up in the ring. But for those that aren't familiar, that is arguably the most important aspect of being a WWE superstar or a commentator or really succeeding in our world, is the psychology behind it. Not necessarily what you did, but why you did it. And I am guilty of thinking like a bad guy because I was a bad guy for 15 years, even predating my time in WWE. I always thought like a villain. So I could justify things that I wanted to justify. I could explain things that maybe were backwards. So just taking that aspect of the business. And now I'm having fun with it because I am almost forced to explore the other side a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I was, even as an analyst, I always sort of sided with the bad guys because that was how I thought. Now I have a whole new set of stories and characters to sort of play with and help develop. And why did Roman Reigns do what he did? Why is Seth Rollins thinking what he's thinking, as opposed to just, well, I would have done the same thing because it hurts.
And when it comes to being an analyst, because I'm just always curious about that, when you're explaining to people some of these things, is it hard sometimes to not, I don't want to say mansplain in a certain way, but when you want to make sure that you're offering them up, you're educating them, but you're also entertaining them, how do you find that balance?
It's tricky. It's very tricky. And there have been a lot of great wrestlers over the years who have been colossal failures at commentary because the nature of the business is very individualistic, right? As a superstar, you kind of have to step on toes from time to time. You've always got to look out for number one. That's just sort of the nature of this industry. It's been this way for 50 years and it'll always sort of remain that way to an extent. As a commentator, as an analyst, you are now responsible for making everybody whole, or as whole as possible, which sort of flies in the face of what you're wired to be as a wrestler, as a competitor. Now you're not only telling your story, you have to tell everybody's story or the other side of the story. And if Corey Graves tells Roman Reigns' side of the story, you better be fully prepared to explain Cody Rhodes' side of the story, etc. And it's different, and the stories are always different. The superstars are different, but it's really just a different animal than I think a lot of people realize.
And minus a very well-used cough button, what's it like sharing a booth with Pat McAfee?
McAfee's a trip, man. McAfee is a wild card. He is, as advertised, the guy you see on your TV screen for like 13 hours a day now. I believe he's actually on television and YouTube. The guy doesn't rest, and God bless him. I love having. I've historically preferred a 2-man booth, to 3, but having Pat as the third is fun for me, particularly because he's quick. And it's nice to have somebody who I can spar with. And it's nice to have somebody that I can make a joke to, who very likely will fire a joke back, or at least react in a way that's entertaining. Because other times I've been on the opposite side of a table where I'm making a joke at a guy, almost prodding him, saying, "Shut me down, fight back, help me." And instead it just sounds like I'm verbally clubbing a baby seal at the desk, and it doesn't do anybody any good. So Pat's definitely a refreshing perspective to have at the desk with us.
And another guy, of course, that I can't forget and talk about is Triple H. He not only supports you, but is, helping you with a lot of these opportunities. What's your relationship like with him?
And Triple H is another guy that I owe a great deal, if not everything, in my career too. He was the one that took a chance on me as a wrestler in NXT. And I know we've had a few conversations since that him having to shut me down broke his heart as much as it broke mine. And he's always been sort of silently supportive. He's always been in the back. If I need something, I've never hesitated to go to him and ask. He also is really cool and sort of refreshing in a sense that he gives us space when he's in Gorilla, right where the old boss sat. And instead of being told and prompted, "Hey, you got to say this, you have to do it this way, you have to use this verbiage," he, I think, understands that we are all fans and we all love this in different way. And as the business grows and evolves, you kind of have to let go of the reins a little bit. I still have my guide rails. I just feel like they're a little bit wider on each side now, where rather than trying to stay on a particular path and walk in a certain rhythm and do things a certain way, I have a little bit more leeway to be me and develop my own style. As long as all the boxes that need checked continue to be checked, I don't have to do them the same way that the 6 guys before me have done, or that Michael Cole does, or etc.
And what's he like on the headset?
I've been on TV for, I think, 7 years on Raw and SmackDown. And in the last few months, I think my headsets have been as quiet and lucid as they have been ever. I only hear from him if I'm doing something terribly wrong, which, knock on wood, doesn't happen too frequently. Or the other time I hear from him pretty regularly is if, much like Michael Cole, if a joke lands. If I say something and it gets him, he'll go, "Oh, that was really good," or he'll double down. He'll follow up on my joke in my headset. And sometimes I'm like, "Oh man, I wish I could tell the people this, but it just doesn't fit."
And so when it comes to when you first started, you were obviously in wrestling. What is the overview with like how the media and broadcasting covers you guys? Because you've been involved for so long. So from the time you first were a professional wrestler compared to now, what are some of the main differences you've noticed?
I think the biggest aspect and the biggest change that I've noticed, at least since I've joined WWE, is sort of the respect that the rest of the world has been giving us. Everybody knows it's scripted entertainment. We have been open and honest about that. Sorry, Jess. Sorry to blow your mind. You don't have to look far to find very public records of all types. That, yes, we are scripted entertainment. We are essentially, I heard it described like this recently, we are a television show about a sport at the end of the day. And I think particularly in the last 2 or 3 years, as business has ramped up, WWE's become undeniable. From the smoky bingo halls years and years ago, and the sort of dirty little secret of Americana, like, "Oh, my grandmother used to watch pro wrestling." Nobody ever wanted to talk about it. I remember being the 90s in high school, like the late 90s, when the Attitude Era was hot. that was fun. You could go to school and talk to your friends about it. But after that, it almost kind of went back in the closet. It was like this dirty little secret that nobody ever really admits to. Oh, I used to watch that. And then everybody would slip up and ask you about something current. Like it was almost like this weird veil of shame that fans had.
Yeah.
Now we are doing record-breaking business, a $5 billion Netflix deal, brand new deal with USA for Friday Night SmackDown. I mean, the media rights deals, it's undeniable. You may not enjoy it like the rest of the world is, but there's a significant chunk of the world who are rabid about what we're doing. We just had an amazing event in Perth, Australia, the most remote city, major city on the planet Earth. And we put 52,000 people in a stadium to watch a premium live event. You may not love WWE. You may not get emotionally invested in Cody Rhodes' story, but you can't deny it. And the media, I think, has reflected that in the sense that, okay, we're not going to act like this is all reality based. It's not like Tyson Fury losing the world heavyweight championship in a boxing ring, but the economic impact on these cities that hold the events, the numbers don't lie. And I think the media has really had no choice but to take us seriously as a massive American, global entertainment entity now.
And I'm glad you brought that up because John Cena was on After the Bell and he talked about how he kind of sees WWE slipping back into the 90s vibe, which is when I fell in love with it. And you're right. I was kind of ashamed after that era to talk about it. And now I'm embracing it again. But for him to compare it to the 90s where everybody was watching it, that's kind of a big thing to say.
It is. And it's a difficult line to draw because times have changed. The way people consume media and entertainment are drastically different. I'm sure Netflix wasn't throwing around $5 billion deal. I don't even know if Netflix really existed back in the 90s during the Attitude Era. So, and it's always risky to compare anything that is so sacred in fans' minds to something else that's happening, particularly now. It's like somebody saying, oh, Shohei Ohtani and Babe Ruth. Okay, like I love everything Shohei's doing, but Babe Ruth is this mythical figure, and it's kind of like the Attitude Era.
I've actually never seen him in person, so the same.
It may not have existed.
May not even be real.
but it's just the times are different, and I'm totally got off. I made this amazing analogy about Shohei and Babe Ruth, and I totally forgot where I was.
Fine. Honestly, if you just stop there, we're good.
but yeah, it is. It's risky to compare, particularly to our fans, because they're so passionate, and they are the ones who get deeply offended if you go, "Hey, this guy's been champion 7 times," and trust me, that's when my X account blows up. You idiot, you suck. He was champion 8 times, not 7. I should have your job. And like, we have that level of rabid fans. But as somebody who lived through that as yourself, it feels similar. I'm on the inside of the machine now than on the outside. But as far as judging on the fan reactions and having multiple moments in a given SmackDown or a premium live event where I don't have to say a word, because there's nothing I can say that is going to top 52,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs for whatever's happening in the ring. Lay out, let it happen, and just enjoy the vibe. And when The Rock walks to the ring to this day, I'm still like 16 years old again.
That's amazing. And when you're in those crowds, how do you compare walking out to the ring as a wrestler to being in the booth?
I think people were a lot nicer to me when I was a wrestler, even though I was a bad guy. no, it's cool. I'm usually one of, if not the first face that they see before a SmackDown. And I just like it because it gives me a second to take in what we're doing, what we're about to do, that little walk. And I very rarely make eye contact with a lot of people because I'm in my head and I know where I need to be. But it's just that breath where I can stand on the ramp and go, oh, well, wait, there's people all the way up there's people with their backs against the wall on the top of the arena. That's still relatively new. I mean, again, in the 12 years, there hasn't been a period where we're doing sellout after sellout after sellout. And it just to have that moment and go, oh my God, this is real. This is what we're doing. And I'm a tiny part of it. It's exciting. And it gives everybody that extra jolt of energy, from myself to whoever's headlining the main event that night. It makes you want to give that little bit extra. It makes you want to be a little bit closer to perfect because you realize, hey, a lot of people are spending a lot of money and investing a lot of time in what we're doing. Let's make sure we give them the best show possible.
So you're still feeding off the crowd in both ways, whether you're a wrestler or on
Absolutely. And there are times, and it's been refreshing because in the past, there have been times where something quote unquote important is happening in the ring. And we're trying to convey to the television audience that this is a big deal, but the people in whatever arena just aren't into it, or they're not reacting the way we hope they would. So there have been instances where the commentators try to compensate. We start shouting and screaming and yelling like it's the coolest thing that's ever happened. But if you look past the ring and you realize that the first four rows of seats, nobody's on their feet, you don't know why when you're sitting at home. You just know it doesn't feel right. So now there are multiple instances where I can take one of my headphones off so I can actually hear the live reaction. I'm not listening through my cans. I go, oh my God, there are 14, 16, 18,000 people losing their minds around me. And I don't have to say a word. I get to be the biggest fan in the house.
I love that. And I wanted to ask about your retirement, and because it's interesting. I don't know if do we call it a decision because you had doctors saying you shouldn't wrestle
Yeah,
anymore?
I didn't really have much say in the matter.
Right. So then how did that conversation go?
I'll remember it like it was yesterday. We remember great moments in our life just as well as we remember the terrible moments. And we were in the performance center, and I had, as far as I was concerned, cleared my concussion protocol. I was back in the ring, rolling around, taking a few bumps, feeling ready to go. But for whatever reason, the doctors wouldn't clear me. And I didn't know. And I'm asking questions and I can't get a straight answer from anybody. And it was actually Hunter, who was in the gym in the performance center working out, a little bit of downtime. And I happened to be walking through, and I said, there's no time like the present. I'm going to ask him. Fully expecting him to go, oh my God, man. Yeah. You know what? A couple more weeks that we're just being overcautious.
Yeah.
And he looked me dead in the eye, and he wasn't prepared to have the conversation then and there. And when you're speaking to somebody, you can hear a lump in their throat. And I felt the emotion coming from him, and he was trying his best to keep it together for me. But he explained to me that he and the company didn't want it on their hands if going forward, I ended up, and he used the term punch drunk. And he compared it to boxing. He's a boxing fan. And he goes, you look at mixed martial arts, you look at boxing, you look at all these different sports where the competitor is rarely, if ever, wired to protect themselves, right? At the time, it was the last answer I wanted to hear. Here we are all these years later, and I am eternally grateful because I know I wouldn't have been the one to protect me from myself. So he was being proactive. And again, at the time, I wanted nothing to do with that answer. My world was crumbling down, but here we are all these years later, and physically I feel pretty good. Obviously I have my wits about me. Ironically enough, my brain has not been scrambled, and I use my mouth to speak, and I use my brain more now than when I was a competitor. So I guess I should say thank you for that one as well. The world, I'm not a big believer in fate and destiny, but the world works in mysterious ways, and who knows where I'd be. I may have had a quick cup of coffee in the big time, as they say. I may have had a few matches and gotten hurt in a different way, or maybe I would have just sucked and I would have gotten cut like so many who have, in the past. That's the nature of the beast. But instead, I ended up with this opportunity that I was not going to drop, that I was not going to fumble no matter what. And here I am. And it's all kind of wild if you really think about it.
And the thing that's really interesting is you mentioned a cup of coffee. Like, a lot of people pretty much know you as a broadcaster before a wrestler. So what's that been kind of like when they're approaching you talking about your commentary as opposed to what you did in your wrestling career?
You can't change the world. Not one man sitting in a wrestling broadcast booth. That's for sure. I just sort of learned to lean into it, because I've been doing this long enough now where there's a familiarity, and I've built it with the fans. And in most of the familiarity they have with me is as an analyst, the snarky, smart mouth, make jokes and insult people at every given opportunity. So again, this is sort of, I don't want to say image rehab, but it's an opportunity for me to show, hey, there's a lot more to me than just the guy who cracks jokes and freaks out when a pretty girl's on screen or what have you. So it's definitely exciting to me. I just think the biggest misunderstanding is that people who watch don't understand, nor should they. It's not their responsibility what we're actually doing there.
Right.
So it's easy for them to go, oh, this guy sucks. What do you know? And I go, well, I was a NXT tag team champion. I've been in the ring with Roman Reigns. I've been in the ring with Seth Rollins. I'm as qualified as pretty much anybody you could put in that seat from an experience standpoint. But time goes on. I mean, there are lots of young kids who have no clue that Corey Graves was ever a wrestler. But then again, I grew up loving Bobby the Brain Heenan, and I had no idea that he was a competitor before he became the greatest analyst of all time. So you just lean into it. Don't take it personally. People, and in a weird way, there's once in a while I have an opportunity to really crush somebody with facts and experience, and they go, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, my bad.
I live for that.
Yeah, but it was cool watching your announcement when you had to tell the public that you were retiring. And correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like you were very slow to say the words. It took you a while to say the actual words. Was that the case?
Yeah, absolutely. It was
Mhm.
one of those things where I had obviously known it was going to happen, and I had been dreading the day leading up, but I had my little speech that
Mhm.
I had wanted to say things a certain way, and I was more focused on remembering what I wanted to say than being in the moment. And then the moment came, and man, I felt like the weight of the world was sitting on my shoulders as I was trying to say I'm officially announcing my retirement, and I almost locked up. I mean, that was real, real human
Yeah.
emotion. But at the same time, I'm going, dude, you're on TV. This is a new opportunity for you. And all I kept hearing in my head was Dusty Rhodes, who has helped me I can't even explain what Dusty's meant to my career,
Mhm.
but he used to always yell at me and say, sit up, sit up. When you're at that desk, sit up. So I'm delivering the worst news of my life, and in my head all I'm hearing is Dusty going, sit up, kid. So I'm trying to keep it together, and it's so weird. I've watched that back quite a few times, and
Really?
it still feels, yeah, it still feels kind of surreal. And now, as far removed as I am from it, it's like, oh, was that a big deal? Like, that was maybe in a weird way the best thing that ever happened to me.
When's the last time you watched it?
It comes up on Twitter a lot.
Oh,
You'd be,
okay.
you'd be amazed at how many times people, love to fire out old
You're like,
things.
man, I was there. I knew it happened, but thanks for putting it out there
Right, right.
again.
Yeah. Thank you for ripping the scab off the worst moment of my life. But yeah, I mean, I guess all's well that ends well, right?
Yeah. And
And
what
far be it
would
from, I'm not usually this paragon of positivity. That's not my style. I'm like the gallows humor kind of guy.
no, I know.
But
But
now
I think
I'm in a
it's
great place now where I can look back and appreciate it.
and I think that that's great too. Yeah, because I know you have this like this way about you where I don't want to say pessimistic, but you're very honest about and like realistic about certain things. So it's good to kind of see both sides to it. What would you want broadcaster Corey to tell wrestler Corey?
Whew. Man, that's a really deep question, I think, in a sense that I wrecked my body to get to WWE before I learned that it's not about the moves. It's not about
Mhm.
how many dives you can do to the outside. It's the psychology, it's the romance, it's the storytelling. And all of the things that I do now, I was never really privy to on the independents because we
Mhm.
didn't really have commentators. And every once in a while, if they did, it was just somebody cracking jokes on a microphone. So to now experience the entire package that is WWE and that is sports entertainment done at its absolute pinnacle, there's a million things I would have loved to tell my younger self.
Yeah.
I guess to save myself some headaches and heartaches, I would have loved to reassure myself that, hey, it may not be the plan that you had, but things are going to
Mhm.
work out.
I want to talk about Carmella, your better half. I love
Wow,
her.
I mean,
She's
so
fantastic.
better than me. Well, right out, you led with my better half. No, I
Yeah.
get it.
I mean, just like let's just be
You
honest.
didn't.
But
You didn't even flinch.
yeah,
I love it.
I'm
I
really
love
good at segues. I'm just gonna call it a matter of fact.
it.
Like just call a spade a spade. But it was really cool to see. She wrote this really long post when you started doing the play-by-play, and she said, the best to ever do it, how proud she was of you. What's her support meant to you?
It's meant the world, and I would say as much, if not more so, than Michael Cole has meant to my career.
Mhm.
She has been integral, above all, in the human aspect of it. I have learned so much in the last 5 years, since we've been together,
Mhm.
about patience, about not wanting to set the world on fire just because one tiny thing went wrong. As I mentioned before, I used to call Cole and text him, and this is it. This sucks. I'm done. I quit. And she's been the one who, on more occasions than I'm sure she enjoyed doing it,
Yeah.
and like, listen, stop. You've got a
Yeah.
great thing happening here. Take a deep breath. We'll do this. So she's definitely been my sanity. Obviously, she's a little biased in her opinion that I'm the greatest. I think I've got a lot of work to do, but I think it's been really cool. And it's been nice for both of us in a sense that we're both under the same umbrella as
Mhm.
WWE, but we're in two different roles. And there have been aspects of her game that I've been able to help with or
Yeah.
explain from a different perspective. There's been things that she would have liked commentators in the past to do more of or less of,
Right.
or a different way. And she's been able to say, hey, I used to hate when so-and-so did this. And I would go, okay, how do I address that? And you know, there's a lot of the talent that has been super gracious with their time and trying to lend advice. But I also find myself on the other side because I'm like the elder statesman now because I've been here for freaking forever, where I've got some of the young superstars coming and asking me for advice on how would you do this, and it's all synergy. That's the coolest thing about it, when it's all firing on all cylinders together. It's untouchable. It's unbelievable when the talent is on the same page as the commentators, and the commentators are on the same page as the guy directing in the truck and the executive producer and the guy in the back. When everybody's working together, there is not an entertainment group, brand, show on earth who can touch WWE.
Yeah. And you guys are very open about your personal lives. You pull back the curtain with your podcast and just like honest stuff, like even stuff that y'all do in the bedroom and everything. Why is it important to be so open with stuff that perhaps you want to, other people want to keep personal?
I think times have changed. This is my old man shaking my fist at the clouds, in that when I was growing up and when most of our generation grew up, you had genuine celebrities. They were larger than life. You never would have fathomed knowing what Arnold Schwarzenegger ate for breakfast, or you dreamed of it, or you'd have to buy a magazine to find it out. There was that wall, that definitive line of celebrity, civilian. Now everything's a little bit more gray, and you see people who become celebrities based just on social media. And I think times have changed and our fans are a little more sophisticated now, and they're not thinking that we're all the character we portray on television all the time. And it's kind of refreshing to show a different side of yourself, where I'm the loudmouth, never shut up on TV. And then we do this podcast, and my wife, just like many married couples around the world, is laying down the law to me, and I get to, show that aspect. And I think it helps connect with people. And I think they realize that, okay, there is a line there. There's Corey and Carmella on WWE, and then there's Matt and Leah. And Matt and Leah do certain things that Corey and Carmella would never, could never, should never do. But I think that aspect really, I hope endears us to the fans a little bit more, in a sense that it strengthens that bond, where I may not like what you said about so-and-so, but, I'm into that same thing. You know what I mean? And I think there's a bit of a responsibility when you have a platform that we do to, if you can help. I mean, I get just as nauseated by people who are coming out of the woodwork trying to develop causes and say, hey, you got to do this and do that. When you have a platform and there's something organic and it's perhaps unique or special to you, I feel like there's a bit of a responsibility to share it, because through the pregnancy journey, again, Carmella was super forthcoming about it, warts and all, every little detail that a lot of people maybe never thought of or wanted to hear. But the response has been absolutely amazing. People coming out of the woodwork going, oh my God, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only person who ever dealt with that. I've had men approach me and say, hey, my wife's having fertility issues. My wife just had a miscarriage. Or I just became a dad. I don't know what I'm doing. So again, we're far from experts on anything, but a little bit of experience gives you a leg up on zero experience. So having a platform as we do, and I can't give enough credit to my wife, because she's mastered this. She's really good at this and takes a ton of time to answer individual DMs and really interact with her fan base. I just think it's a cool look. And in this day and age, if you can help somebody, even if it's somebody you never meet or never speak to in person, but it resonates with them, whatever that may be. Hell, if it's an athlete who gets hurt and has to transfer their career into something else, if I can, I've spoken to people. I've spoken to guys in our business. I've spoken to guys in other businesses going, how was that? How did you deal with it? If it helps somebody, why not? Right.
And what was it just like watching her open up about the pregnancy, with the issues and everything else, the miscarriage, because being able to watch her go through it, you guys did it together, but she, as the woman going through it, had a separate responsibility herself.
And we had totally different experiences. And I have apologized profusely and admitted many times that in the moment, my guy brain was working like a guy's brain. And I didn't quite fathom and understand the magnitude of what she was going through. So in a weird way, I learned all over again in hindsight what I already lived through. It was like living through it and then 6 months later, you actually understand what you lived through.
Mm.
I wish I had been better sooner. I wish I had been a more complete supportive partner in the moment when she needed me. But I guess better late than never. I learned what it was doing to her internally and mentally and emotionally, and how tough it was. And throughout that whole process, as though I didn't have enough love and respect for her to begin with, it just multiplied that exponentially, realizing what she had gone through. And then again, having these people reach out and explain, oh, I've been through that. And oh, you helped me with this or that and the other thing. And she just continues to amaze me from that perspective.
And I watched you guys do an appearance where it was like going through your phones or something like that, but you were both talking about pet peeves you have for one another.
Okay.
And you kind of joked, you're like, oh, she's perfect. But then eventually you guys were both honest about these things are kind of my pet peeves, but you also embrace the fact that you both weren't perfect. So what's that kind of like to show that you guys both have your own faults, but you still make it work?
I think if there's any advice that we can give to people around the world that they take away from it, it's that none of us are perfect. And if you want a relationship to succeed, you have to realize that you have faults just as much as your partner does. And it's navigating them. Relationships are work, right? That's nothing new. We're not the first to say that. But when you embrace that and realize it and you go, hey, my instinct is to defend myself, which is something we still get in spats and arguments about that now, where she likes to say, oh, you've never been wrong once in your life. And I can't help but agree.
Yeah.
But internally I'm going, okay, I stepped in it. How do I fix this? And it's a never ending process. But I think remembering to be real and realizing that when the red light turns off and we get in the rental car, or we get back to the hotel or walk into our front door, we're no longer Corey and Carmella. We don't have to worry about putting on a facade for the WWE universe. We are a married couple with a brand new baby and three other children that we have all, every week. And it's just remembering to be human. And I think that is forgotten in this day and age when everybody's so wrapped up in clicks and likes and social media personas. Okay, great. When you close your laptop, be a human, be a real person, talk to somebody. It's crazy. I'm sure you spend enough time online doing this sort of business. If you look online, you are convinced that the entire world is on fire right now. Everybody hates each other. When you walk down the street, have a conversation with somebody. It's really nice. It's really cool to be able to unplug. And I dare say, beyond being nice, it's important. I think everybody needs that little break, even if it's only for 15 minutes a day, to go, okay, step back from the computer, step back from work, step back from whatever the hell's driving us nuts right now, and just take a deep breath and realize, hey, life ain't that bad.
Oh yeah. Getting down the rabbit hole of who I am on Instagram sucks. She's great. She's got her shit together, but I don't want to be her all the time.
Sure.
I can't do it. It's impossible. It's so impossible.
It is. And I think the sooner everybody embraces that, the better off everyone will be.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned, she was very open about calling herself a stepmom to your kids, which was beautiful. So I know you have a new addition. So how have you guys tackled parenthood together with busy schedules?
Well, gratefully, WWE has given her plenty of time off. Obviously, she can't compete in the ring, but her being away from WWE has been great for her mentally and for our family as a whole. Again, I have split custody. I have 50-50 custody of my children. So their mom and I are constantly passing them back and forth.
Right.
But I think they helped prepare her to an extent for motherhood. Responsibilities that she never had as a mid-30s single woman. Now all of a sudden she has to worry about, my son needs to go to baseball practice, or my daughter's got a fever. How do we handle that? And nothing can compare you for becoming a parent, like actually becoming a parent. But I think they helped sort of grease the wheels a little bit, and it definitely helped make her excited and realize, oh my God, this isn't this taxing, awful, life ruining scenario where you have kids and your life is over. No, you can still be a super successful professional, she, in her case, boss bitch.
Yeah.
But there's more to life than that. And she's been an amazing stepmom to my kids. And that was something I had doubts about, honestly. That could have been a deal breaker early on in our relationship. But she has taken to those kids and they love her to death. They call her actually not even stepmom. She's their bonus mom.
Oh, I love
which
that.
is amazing. And she's there for holidays and Valentine's Day, she says, "Hey, I'm going for a ride. I'll be back. Keep an eye on the baby." And okay. I'm hanging at home with the baby. I said, "Where'd you go?" She said, "Oh, I took Valentine's Day baskets to your kids, to their house." And I was like, my God, man. My God, I hit the jackpot on that one. So
you really did.
I did.
That's why I didn't flinch when I started talking about her.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't correcting you. I was just, taking a little back.
That's okay. And I want to talk about WrestleMania a little bit because I listened to the episode on After the Bell with Cody Rhodes, which was a beautiful episode. I really loved that. And he talked about his return. And can you talk a little bit about overall his return and what do you oversee the storyline hopefully playing out coming up?
I mean, I think this is one of those cases that it's a perfect storm. Cody's a guy that I've known for a long time. Obviously, I was very close with his dad, Dusty, in a professional capacity, but I had known Cody back when I was an NXT wrestler, and I would get to go do some of the live event loops with the main roster. And Cody was a guy who would oftentimes either jump in my car or I'd let me ride with him. So we'd always been friendly, not super close. But I just think that the nature of the business at the time, obviously he went and had his own thing going for a while. He left and told WWE where they could stick it. And then he went and created his own path and his own successful path. And then to come back and continue the momentum. I think that was the most important aspect, because he could have gone and come back and then just become another face in the crowd, another guy on the roster, filling a spot, having a match every once in a while that doesn't mean anything. But Cody is a guy who puts in the work on a level that I don't know that I've ever seen, save for perhaps a John Cena, to curate and take care and protect his relationship with the fans. Because Cody, when he says he owes everything to the audience and he does everything for the audience, there is no lie in that whatsoever. Cody is the guy who, no matter what night of the week it is, no matter what city we're on, if Cody's there, he's the last guy. He's signing every autograph. He's shaking every hand. He has really redefined what it means to be a hero in 2024 in an era where for the last 2 decades, we didn't think that was possible.
Right.
John Cena was raged against and rallied against because our fans were saying, we don't want a clean-cut good guy. We don't want Superman. We want somebody who's a little edgy, a little gritty. And here comes Cody, as white meat as they come. And it just works, man. And credit where it's due to Cody, but you have to look at the other side of the coin, because Cody's story doesn't matter if Roman Reigns isn't doing what he has done for the past several years.
Right.
If Roman hasn't hit a home run each and every time he stepped to the plate, this storm does not have the same magnitude. This is not the same match to headline WrestleMania 2 years in a row and still sell out like crazy and have fans still clamoring for the outcome to finish the story. It is a perfect storm. This could be a once in a generation rivalry. And we may not see something like this. I don't know that we have seen it in at least not in the last 5 to 10 years, like all-time great rivalry. And it takes 2 to tango. You have to have a great villain to have a successful hero. And Roman has been such that 2 years in a row, the hero is still trying to finish the journey, and everybody's captivated. And from my perspective, it's easy. It's so easy to tell this story because I feel it. It's organic. Wow. And every once in a while, something comes along where it either tickles that spot as a fan, where you just get to laugh and enjoy what's happening, or there's that something that resonates with you in your heart, in your soul as a fan. Even if you're not a WWE fan, you can understand that the final video game boss, Roman Reigns, who no one's even come close to knocking off, and your guy, the guy that you're rooting for, the blue collar, the son of the grandson of a plumber, Cody Rhodes. It's just so beautiful to watch it all unfold. And it's easy for me. And that's not to mention between Dusty and Cody and the entire bloodline, the Anawati family, they've helped me a ton in my career as well, predating WWE. So I have this closeness and this sort of loyalty to both families. And it's a real thrill to me to be a little part in this epic rivalry that hopefully will be talked about for decades to come.
Yeah, you can tell like you're so stoked for that storyline. That's great. Before I let you go, this resonated with me. My manager is Mark Kotze. Of course, he's had a really tough assignment managing the Oakland A's over the last couple of seasons. And what he says a lot is in order to succeed, you have to fail quite a few times. And I believe that was a message that your dad told you. So why is that an important message just to use in your daily life?
I think it just gives everybody perspective. Without failure, can you succeed? Sure. But if you fail, the success is exponentially sweeter. If I had not had one dream taken away from me, the dream that I worked most of my life for, to become a WWE superstar, and I had my fingertips on the prize and had it ripped away, I don't know that I would be who I am as a man right now, as a human being, let alone as a broadcaster. The broadcasting thing is amazing. I still, like I said, have to take those moments to just soak it all in. When I'm going to be sitting ringside at WrestleMania and looking around at a full sold out stadium, I make sure I take just a moment to go, okay, I'm still here doing this. But in hindsight, I've learned so much about life from failing professionally. And not that it wasn't a failure per se, in a sense that I wasn't good enough, but look, everybody's got a path in life. Everybody's got a journey. Everyone's trying to get better, whether it be getting a job out of college or a change in career later down the line. If you don't know what it means to fail, do you ever really know what success feels like? You can have somebody tell you, hey, you're successful. But if you've never been down in the dumps going, what the hell am I doing with my life? This is over. I'm a screw up. I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. When you actually step through that door and do it, does it feel the same? I don't, it's sort of an open-ended question, but I truly believe it's of the utmost importance. Builds
do you
character,
feel like,
right?
Yeah, it does. Do you feel like you're successful?
Yeah, I do now.
Yeah.
If you had asked me that same question a few years ago, I don't know that I would have given you the same answer. I say that because I am now the quote unquote voice of Friday Night SmackDown. And the fact that I've even been entrusted with the keys to the castle that validates me.
Yeah.
As an analyst, I was confident. I was sure of myself. I knew what I was doing. I know I'm really, really strong at that, but it's just something different. And maybe it's just a personal perception, but going from the analyst, which there's been 50 of them through the years, and back to our conversation earlier, a lot of superstars think, I could sit down there and do that. And some of them can, but what I'm doing now gives me a sense of pride almost beyond the wrestling space, in a sense that I am now on broadcast television every week for 2 hours live, in charge of a broadcast. Like, there are broadcasters who dream of this, who aspire to this, who scratch and claw. And there have been times where I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to take somebody's job who's put in the work for that. But having changed roles and I guess made it to the top of a different mountain, that gives me pride. That gives me the feeling of success.
And it's cool because you talked about take a moment. I don't do that enough. I feel like it's constantly because every day is a new ball game. I don't have a chance to breathe, but it sounds like those moments, those responsibilities don't escape you.
No. And I think it's easy to get caught up in a hamster wheel, no matter what your career is, whether you're in Major League Baseball or, you work at Pep Boys changing tires. Like, you get the Groundhog Day effect. Like, okay, this is the same. This is the same. My daily grind, if you want to call it that, is insane. Jumping on a plane, flying here, checking in the hotel, the work week, it is a grind. And you can ask all the superstars who are on the road even more so doing live events where I don't have to travel. I mean, that's the nature of WWE. So if you don't give yourself those moments to remember what you love about this, why you bother to chase this passion or follow this dream, it's easy to forget. And I've seen guys get burned out. Get burned out, and in their own certain ways, people self-destruct, people leave the business, people do really stupid things. And I know all I can do is speak personally, but it's been really important for me to keep myself grounded. And that's what does it. When I can just walk out there and realize they're not here to see me, but I'm a tiny cog in the machine, and the machine working together is why all of these people are here and why everybody is sitting at home glued to their television, because of this passion that we all share. And it's different from person to person to person. There are probably not two people who got in the sports entertainment business for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
But we're all headed toward the same destination. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of beautiful if you think about it.
It really is. That really resonates with me. So I thank you. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is fantastic.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. I'm not a superstar, so I don't get to do podcasts too often for other people.
Well, and I was thinking about that too, because you were talking on I think you were like, I'm used to hosting because you were doing a guest appearance. And I get that too. It's because I went from always doing appearances to now I'm hosting again. And I almost forget how to do appearances sometimes. It's kind of weird, but I get that. Yeah.
Thankfully, my gums never stop flapping. My wife reminds me of that. So I just kind of sit down and hit play.
Yeah, I get it. You're the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jess.
That was my interview with Corey Graves. I told you it was going to be great. Why would I ever lie to you? It's awesome. WrestleMania, of course, is coming up on April 6th and 7th on Peacock. Corey Graves is the play-by-play voice for SmackDown on Fox. So it was good to have him and just to pick his brain about everything and who he learns from and what kind of broadcaster he ultimately wants to be. And he didn't really have an answer for that, which is kind of cool. He gets to discover that on his own. And of course, learning about his wonderful better half, Carmella. I love her. She's great. They have a really fun podcast, Bear It All, where there's one episode dedicated to how she trains him. So you know what I'm going to be watching later, because some of y'all need to be kept in line, if you know what I'm saying. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Short and to the Point. I appreciate your time. Appreciate Philip for always putting up with my stuff per usual. You can follow all of our content on the Comeback and Awful Announcing, and we will see you next time.
Want even more short and to the point? Follow Jessica at Kleinschmidt JD and head over to thecomeback.com and awfulannouncing.com.